Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Shilakankanakalaye. Shilakankanakalaye. Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsinga. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsinga. Pahi Narsinga Hridaye Narsinga. Pahi Narsinga Hridaye Narsinga. Narsingamadiం Sharanam Prapade. Narsingamadiం Sharanam Prapade. Narsingamadiం Sharanam Prapade. Narsingamadiం Sharanam Prapade. Tavakara Kamala Vare Lakha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Vakara Kamala Hare Lakha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamala Hare Lakha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamala Hare Lakha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Narsinga-dev, Jaya Narsinga-dev, Jaya Narsinga-dev, 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 Jaya Narsinga-dev, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to our Friday evening Srimad Bhagavatam class. I'm so happy to see you all over here. And we have been reading the most esoteric part of a very esoteric part of the Bhagavatam, which is prayers of Queen Kunti. And it's the fortunate who get to hear, the fortunate who get to read about them. And we have to be at a certain level of advancement in devotional service before which we can even think of applying whatever Kunti Maharani is saying, and saying that, we're going to, I'm going to be like Kunti Maharani, and because she did this, so I can also say that. And specifically, among all the other things, specifically for today's verse, and because as we go and read this particular verse, you will know that it's very deep, huge verse, very deep prayer, very brave prayer that she's making to Krishna, and so. Just be careful, fasten your seat belts, and we will see what we have there. Okay, so this is from the, I'm just trying to go here, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 8th chapter, and the verse number is 28. And I'm just going to start sharing my screen here with you so that you can see that. And did I start sharing? Are you able to see the words here? And yes, Sadhna Mataji has given me the thumbs up sign, and which is fantastic. Okay, here. So this is 25th verse. Kunti Maharani, after glorifying Krishna and describing him as Purusha Param, and then describing his body, and then describing, going on to describe his activities. And so this is coming, she's continuing. Last time we were talked about how Krishna had saved all of them from Asat Sabhaya, Vanvasa Krityata, Aneka. She said many, many, many times that there were vipadas and you had taken care of us. So today he's continuing on, and he says, Vipadaha santutaha shashvat tatra chatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunar bhavadarshanam. Vipadaha santutaha shashvat tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunar bhavadarshanam. Vipradaha santutaha shashvat tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunar bhavadarshanam. And let's look at the translations. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated birth and deaths. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Generally, the distressed, the needy, the intelligent, and the inquisitive who have performed some pious activities, worship or begin to worship the Lord. Others who are thriving on misdeeds only, regardless of status, cannot approach the Supreme due to being misled by the illusory energy. Therefore, for a pious person, if there is some calamity, there is no other alternative than to take the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though there are so-called calamities, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to remember the Lord, which means liberation. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are accepted as the most suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nations, can achieve liberation as easily as one leaps over the holes made by the hooves of a calf. Such persons are meant to reside in the abode of the Lord, and they have nothing to do with a place where there is danger at every step. And I lost my mouse. Okay, this material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place full of calamities. Less intelligent persons prepare plans to adjust to those calamities without knowing that the nature of this place is itself full of calamities. They have no information of the abode of the Lord, which is full of bliss and without the trace of calamity. The duty of the sane person, therefore, is to be undisturbed by worldly calamities, which are due to happen in all circumstances. Suffering all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should make progress in spiritual realization, because that is the mission of human life. The spirit soul is transcendental to all material calamities. Therefore, the so-called calamities are called false. A man may see a tiger swallowing him in a dream, and he may cry for this calamity. Actually, there is no tiger and there is no suffering. It is simply a case of dreams. In the same way, all calamities of life are said to be dreams. If someone is lucky enough to get in contact with the Lord by devotional service, it is all gain. Contact with the Lord by any one of the 9 devotional services is always a forward step on the path going back to Godhead. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. So continuing on back with our verse of today, and now we'll go and engage in our pastime of every Friday, and that is to look at the Sanskrit word meaning and grab the meaning there. Thank you so much, all of you who have joined us, and I see an unrecognized user here, Zoom user. I'm just wondering if you can announce your name. If you're comfortable doing that, please do unmute yourself.
Hello, Mataji. This is Poonam actually. And I will change my Zoom so that it shows my name. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problems. You can do that in future, but for right now, I will change it and put it for you there. All right. So I'm looking for your enthusiastic participation here. And okay. So Kunti Maharani is talking about various aspects, in particularly about the Vipada in this particular verse. And she's talking about Vipada, which is calamities, and Santu means they should be there. So again and again, not only that is she saying that there should be calamities, but she's saying they should come again and again. And so this is actually exposing to us how deep and how strong and how powerful and how advanced devotee Kunti Maharani is, to be able to say that, if I have a calamity, not only does she stop and saying, okay, now there's a calamity, I'll go through it and things like that, but she's actually saying that whenever there's a calamity, let me have them again and again. So Shatsvat is what it means, that I want to have them again and again, right? And then why is she saying? Well, she's saying that because once we get these calamities in life, then we, in her life, whenever there was calamities, and she has listed all those calamities in the previous verses, whenever she had calamities, Krishna always came to help them out. And so she's saying that whenever there are calamities, we get to see you. And because we get to see you, Krishna, so, let there be more calamities. So that's the mathematical equation and the logic of how Kunti Maharani's, mind operates. And on the other hand, when we are there, right? So when we come across calamities, so we do run to the Lord, and the joy, we feel joyful. And the majority of a large section of the joy is coming not from the fact that we went to the temple and we saw Krishna. I mean, of course, a devotee will always have this feeling, but I'm talking about the general public here. So the joy is not coming from the fact that we got a chance to see the Lord. The joy is coming from the fact that I have put all my burdens on the Lord, and I get some temporary relief that, okay, now God is going to take care of it. So there's a little joy there. And of course, if the calamity doesn't go up, so the joy transforms into anger very, very quickly. So, but in the case of Kunti Maharani, what she's saying is that she wants the calamities to come over and over again and again. And so over here, because I get to see him, I get to see you. And then in her verse, what she is talking about is saying that, because if we see you, then apunar bhava darshanam. So she's saying that if we get to see you, then we don't get to see this material world. So they are kind of like mutually exclusive. Either there is Krishna or there is Maya, right? Krishna Surya Sam, Maya hai andhikar, jahan Krishna taha nahi, mayera adhikar. Okay? So wherever there is Krishna, there cannot be Maya, which is darkness. Just as you see, if there is a room which is full of darkness, and you enter the room and you flip on the switch. As soon as you flip on the switch, where is the darkness? It's gone. Darkness cannot remain. So that flipping of the switch is Krishna. As soon as Krishna is there, then the darkness cannot be there. So as soon as we see Krishna, there is no point of us coming back into this material world. Of course, we have to be an exalted devotee to be able to see Krishna, and also to be able to recognize Krishna when he comes in front of us. And we'll talk about, how in various places can you see Krishna there, right? So she's saying apunar bhava darshanam, and the bhava, so very, very important. So this bhava is this material world that is there, right in front of us. And it is equated in the Shastras as bhava sagar. So they use the word bhava sagar. And so bhava sagar is actually like an ocean, okay? And Prabhupada says in so many of his lectures, he says that, if a person is an expert swimmer, right? You could be an Olympic champion and, win gold medals or whatever medals are there that you get for swimming championships, you win all those. But you happen to fall into an ocean, then it's not necessarily that you'll be able to survive, because ocean is a totally different game. The waves are furious. There are ferocious animals in the ocean. So the only way that if we have fallen into an ocean, The only way is, of course, if you know how to swim, it's better because then you'll be able to keep your nose above the water. But the only way is that, if somebody comes from a helicopter, throws the rope to you, and then you climb back up, or somebody comes in a boat and then again, brings you aboard, and that's how you're safe. So let us not compare. Let us not compare the ocean to the swimming pool in our lives also. Okay, so if you think that I'm in my cozy little thing and everything nice is happening, you never know. The people in Japan 8-9 years ago, they were all very cozy. It was a weekend. And then there was a huge tsunami. And that's when we saw the wrath of Varun Devta. And we saw how powerful water is, as we saw tons of cars. Each car weighs, more than a ton. And they were being tossed about in the waves as if they were balloons, like that. So powerful is the ocean. So similarly, we should always be aware and wary of the world which is outside us. So we should never think that I'm cozy and I'm comfortable in this particular world, right? And to know that, that as Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and which is in the 10th canto, that padam padam yat vipadam natesham, right? So there can be calamities that can come into your life at any time. And who invites the calamities? Nobody invites the calamities. She's inviting. Right? But calamities come on their own, right? Misfortune, they come on horseback. They come on horseback and they're there. Very fast, they come in our life. That's what it means. Without our even knowing. One fine day, everything is fine. And the other day, you never know, right? We recently had this calamity in Vidyavadu Mataji's life, right? She got her son married, and the next day, son's father-in-law was declared COVID positive. So, one day you're laughing, and other day, you're down. So this is how calamities come into life. And when the calamities come, they come uninvited. Who just says that, a bag of a big hammer should fall on my head, or my car should have a punctured tire, or I should be declared COVID positive? Who invites that? Nobody thinks like that, but they will come on their own, right? And as soon as they come, it's like intolerable for us. I cannot handle it. I cannot handle this. I cannot handle this calamities, like that, right? And so we start praying to Krishna, that Krishna, oh, let this be over. Let this be over. What did I do? What did I do, to deserve this? I'm a good person. Why is this happening to me? Why is Krishna doing this to me? And things like that. So they seem to stay forever, right? And that is the law of relativity also in plain man's words, that when the going is good, then time flies very fast. And when the going is bad, the time comes to a standstill. It won't even move, right? Like the doctor is performing some, painful procedure on you and you are suffering the pain. It could be a few minute procedure, but it feels like it's hours of agony that we had, like that, right? So we want that to get over as soon as we can, right? We start falling, Krishna, Krishna, save me, because that's all the devotees know how to do, right? And so Prabhupada in the purport that we read just now said that calamities are going to come. Calamities are going to come. And now, how do we react to those calamities? So what do we do to overcome this thing that has come into our life? So we have options. We have two options that we can take, right? The devotees, they know. By now, they have become smart enough. They know that when these calamities have come into our life, they know that the only way is, can you tell me, can somebody unmute themselves and tell me that if calamities come into your life, what is the only way for a devotee? Are you able to unmute yourself? Let me check and see. I think I gave you.
Think of Krishna.
Surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Shri Radha Krishna.
Right. So think of Krishna and surrender into the lotus feet of Radha Madan Mohan. So surrender is the only thing that we know of, right? We read the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18. Sarv dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshisyami ma suchaha, right? So he's saying that abandon all varieties of religion. just, come and surrender to me and follow the unique religion, and which is surrender to the lotus feet, that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. You surrender to Krishna. And then he's giving the guarantee, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshisyami masucha. I will deliver you of all your sins. Do not doubt. Do not doubt. So that's very, very important, because doubts are something that will linger on our head all the time. Even the day that we take to the fact that I'm going to pursue devotional service, the doubts will start coming, like, am I doing the right thing? Is it too early in the life for me? What will people think about me? What will my dad think? What will my children say? Will people think I've gone crazy? So all those kinds of, does Krishna really exist? Right? And so in a lot of the places we are seeing, especially nowadays because of COVID, when people are leaving the bodies and people pray to Krishna and still the person leaves the body, and that's the time when there is, a doubt that, whether Krishna exists or not exists, right? So for all of us who are, watching these things happening either in our lives or in the lives of others, we can take inspiration from Kunti Maharani's prayer that she's, offering to Krishna, and take inspiration from her life. She did not give up. She did not say that we are all devotees, we are all righteous people, then why are still all these things coming into our lives? She did not say that. Instead, on the other hand, she's saying, let them come more and more, because when we see you, then we won't come back into this material world over and over again. Otherwise, this is a bhav sagar, right? So a devotee will, surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna. And on the other hand, what does a materialistic person do? What does a materialist do? Then there are calamities in their life.
He may blame.
They blame, okay.
They move away probably from God, thinking why God is doing when God loves, their children.
Loves us much. Okay. Yeah. So that was, so when a person was talking about, why is God doing this to me? There was a little hint there was a little trace that at least they believed in God, right? So they're saying, why is God doing this to me? So they're believing that, God is there, which is a very good thing. But now there is some confusion, there is some doubt, right? Why me? Why me? Why me? Like that, right? But what does a non-devotee do? Non-devotee is one who doesn't believe in Lord, an atheist who doesn't believe that there is God. What do they do about, how do they handle calamities? What do you think are some of the options that they pursue and use, which are out there? Plenty.
Get angry, upset, cry, play.
They get angry, they get upset, they cry, right? They play. And what can they play?
Oh, I said blame.
Blame. Okay. All right. Okay.
They drink.
They drink. Yes, they do. Right. So what people start to do is they start to adjust against these calamities that are happening. Okay, so I'm going through this particular phase. Let me get drunk. What's going to happen when you drink the next day? Varshana Mata is going to tell us.
Mataji, there was a case recently. A person was in a dire situation, and both husband and wife thought that we will kill ourselves. The husband killed the wife, killed both the children, and then killed himself. To this extent, the anger can go up. You see that you are not happy with the life, and this is the only way to get out of the situation. But they don't know that they are going to suffer further in the next life, and they do not know because they haven't read the Shastras. So to this extent also person can go. Hare Krishna.
In handling, right? The other extreme of handling this. And which is very, it's a nice point that you bring up, which I can connect to the verse that we are discussing here. And she's saying, Apunar Bhava Darshanam. So Kunti Maharani is saying that if we see you, Lord, then we will not take birth again. This means that Kunti believes in rebirth. Kunti believes that there is a life after we die, that there is a life. And obviously this family that decided to kill themselves, I don't know whether the kids decided, but at least the adults in the family, they decided. to live a good life, right? Which is the best gift that the Lord can give you. So this body is actually, it's very interesting. This body is also known as a tabernacle. And tabernacle is a temple that moves, right? Moves in the sense that, you are like a gypsy or something and you carry the temple from here to there. So this body is known as a temple of the Lord because the Lord resides in this body in the form of Paramatma. Right? So this is his abode actually. Everything belongs to Krishna. So this is Krishna's abode. He's living there. And you know what? We have rented. We have leased this. He has leased this to us. So, okay, you can also come and live in this body for X number of years. And that lease is well defined and unchangeable in most of the cases, unless Krishna intervenes somehow or the other there. Right? So the atheist, as you can see, try to adjust to these calamities, and in that process of trying to adjust. Now, if they are smart atheists, worldly smart atheists, then they will realize that calamities can come in life. For example, old age is also a calamity of some sort, and so they can plan for old age, right? So let me work really hard so that I don't have to work when I get old, right? And what you do, you spoil a perfect present, thinking about the future, right? And Vaisheshika Prabhu tells this interesting story about his sister, right? So he had called up his sister and asked her that, how it's going on, the regular call the brother would make to the sister. And the sister said, well, you know what? Today I retired. And she was a geologist. And today I retired, and I was looking forward to retirement and spending, getting my 401k dollars and then spending them nicely, catching up with whatever you wanted to do and couldn't do in your life. Like she was planning to do all that. And then the same day, she got the letter from a doctor telling her that she had cancer, which could not be cured, and that she had only a few months to live, right? So these kind of calamities can come. And so although we plan our whole life that we are going to, enjoy our old age, and we had done that exercise earlier as to what is old age, right? We don't know what old age is. Well, old age is how close you are to death, right? So we are always thinking and planning of a future. We might think that, I'll have sons so that they will take care of my life. And now you see in COVID virus, parents are alive, sons are gone, right? And so the atheists who don't believe in God will try to, take a big life insurance policy, build so many homes, and rent them out. And then once you rent out a house, you have more headache over there. So that's not the way devotees will behave. The devotees will look at a situation that has come in their life, the way, partially, and I'm not recommending that we imitate Devaki and say Kunti and say that, please, Lord, give me more. Because if you give me more, then I will see you. Because right now that's not happening. It will happen once we advance in devotional service of the life. So a devotee goes by Krishna's adage, instructions. Now, before I go that, I just want you to come up and give me some examples of how calamities can come in a person's life, and just give one calamity per person, just one per person. An example of a calamity that can come in a person's life. No calamities, everybody's happy. Never had any calamities.
You are happily sitting and you see a snake comes and bites you and you are in a trouble. Yes.
Okay, so you are sitting there in the grass enjoying a book and don't know you are sitting on a snake hole and it comes and bites you. Okay, so attack from animals is a calamity. What other attacks? What other calamities can come?
Financial.
Sorry?
Financial.
Right. So what are the three kinds of calamities or three sources of calamities in our life?
Nature, just the environment.
Yes, and there's a Sanskrit word for that, and Sanskrit scholars in our group. Can you tell us?
Mataji, three kinds of calamities are Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, and Adhyatmik.
But tell me which one is the one that Sadhana Mataji pointed out.
What did she say, Mataji?
Adi Bhautik. It's Adi Bhautik.
And Adi Bhautik means? Three kind of problems can come in life, right? One is adhyatmic, which come because of us, because of our mind telling us to do certain things, right? And there was this boy who was, he had an accident. He was driving a scooter and he had an accident, and he had some fractures and things like that in his body. So his uncle asked him that, how did this happen? Did somebody hit and run and things like that? He said, no. And he was following of a particular cult, and I won't name that cult, but he just said that, I was driving, and then he, which is the cult's guru, came and told me to, raise my hands and let go of the handles that he was using to balance the scooter. And he fell down, obviously, right? So when you are at that stage, you have a faith in somebody, but your faith is not paripakwa. It has not reached that stage of maturity that you're not able to distinguish between the words of the Lord as they are coming from your heart, as Paramatma speaks to you from your heart, and also the words of your mind. Your mind is also there in your heart, and the Lord is also there in your heart. So how do I distinguish between the two of them? And I always tell you that story of how a person came to Srila Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, you came to my night, into my dreams last night, and you remember you were telling me I should start taking, drugs. And then, he immediately said he's not. So how do I know? And this is a question that people ask all the time, that you're saying this is adhyatmic. So obviously this guy who left the handles of his scooter, fell down, broke his bones. Obviously, it was not Krishna telling him to do that. So, but it was adhyatmic, self-inflicted misery because of your mind going in a certain direction. So you are suffering that. And so how do we distinguish? How, in his innocence, or what, in his confused mind, whatever he thought it was his gurus, which meant that it was God telling him to do that. So he didn't understand that. So how can I distinguish when a voice is speaking in my heart, that is this Krishna speaking or is it the Paramatma speaking to me, right? And that is the reason that we come and go and sit in classes on our scriptures. That is why we read the scriptures, listen to the interpretation of scriptures by bona fide devotees, not anybody, but bona fide devotees who will explain the meaning of the scriptures. And so the next time a voice comes up in your heart, right, and you are thinking that, okay, you have a doubt, is it Krishna speaking or is it a mind? Then you have a reference manual. You can refer to Bhagavad Gita. So you will always be saying, okay, for example, a bad thought can come into your mind, and thoughts will come uninvited. They are uninvited guests, right? And they come from millions of years, millions of lifetimes of anarthas that we have done. So they just won't go away just because we turned our head towards Krishna, and they'll be gone just like that, right? So it'll take us some time. And so what we have to constantly do is that, if a bad thought comes into your mind while you are, in your progress in your devotional service, just listen, just go back to the Shastra and say, okay, this is a bad thought. And the Shastras say that the mind is your best enemy, best friend, and he is also your biggest enemy. So right now, my mind is in that state where I'm doing devotional service, but I'm sitting in front of the Lord trying to chant, but this nasty thought has come into my mind, right? So this way, whenever you go and look at the Shastras and read the Shastras, you're able to find and tally and see, okay, what this thought has come to mind, does it tally with everything that is there? Or for example, we could get very angry at some person, right? Some person is misbehaving, is a devotee, to make matters worse, and we just don't know how to handle all that, right? Then go back and look, a bad thought comes that I should do this, I should blaspheme this devotee, I should do this. Again, this is a thought. Is it Krishna? And then, a thought will come, okay, let me do this. Okay, let me go and talk to that particular person, because I know if you tell one thing to that particular person, then immediately 1,000 will know about it, right? So we are seething in anger because of envy or whatever it is. And we say, okay, the thought comes, let me go and tell to this loudmouth person. So at that time, we should constantly be observing the thoughts that are coming in our mind. And we should do this, this check again, that, okay, so if I'm going to do that, what will be the result of that action, right? What will be the result of action, and is it reversible, right? If you go and tell that to a loudmouth who goes and posts that into Facebook, that's all. You have no idea where it has gone, how many times it has been forwarded, who else has looked at it, who has downloaded it and cutting relevant portions out of it and reposting that. That's where they say, it's better to stay away from electronic media, especially when you're angry with somebody. So we don't, so look at the results of that. So what's going to happen? One act of mine. When this thought came into mind, I did not do the thinking, feeling, and acting, willing and acting. I did not break down that process into four. I am thought and then I just acted, like that. So we should always try to put a gap between all these things, and also in those gaps, think out and reason out that what are going to be the consequences of this particular action, right? And the Shastras are going to guide you. Right? Krishna says that, all of them, I am the father and I am the mother of everybody. So which means that Krishna is also the parent of this person that you're going to blaspheme or deciding or planning to blaspheme, right? Then you think, how is Krishna going to like it? Right? How somebody will like if they blaspheme somebody that you are close to. How would you like if somebody went and said nasty things about your parents or your father or your mother or your wife or your husband or your kids, right? You're not going to like it. So is Krishna going to like it? So whenever you have Shastric, knowledge and Shastric connections, you're able to distinguish between the good and bad much better. Otherwise, you'll be ready to let go of the handles of the scooter like that. So Kunti Maharani, obviously we know, is very well versed in the Shastras. And so she is, when these calamities come into her life, she is actually, and here's the amazing thing also and we had said how a devotee will behave, and we also saw how a non-devotee will behave towards calamities. But we see in Kunti Maharani's life that she's saying, give more of them to me, and that is fine. We won't do that. We won't do that. Right now, we'll just, stay with, okay, Krishna, give me the strength to learn whatever lesson that you're trying to give me. Okay. And when we reach the stage of Kunti Maharani, she is at the stage where she sees Krishna in everything, right? In Bhagavad Gita, chapters of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, there are various places in your life where you can see Krishna. So let's get a counting of that. Any ideas on where we can see Krishna? And I'm hearing some background sounds. If you're in a noisy background, just mute yourself. Yeah. So where are some? Yeah. Go ahead. Anybody? Any ideas?
The sun.
Say that again. We can see him in
sun.
the sun. Okay, good. Yeah, so when the sun comes, you can feel Krishna. When the sunshine comes, you can feel that Krishna is touching you if you think sun is Krishna. All right. Where else can you, how can you, because Krishna, Prabhupada talks in the purport about remembering Krishna. How can we remember Krishna all the time? Some examples.
Hearing his name.
Hearing his name will make you remember. So charging yourself with his names in the morning so that you remember them throughout the day. Okay, that's one. How else can we remember Krishna?
Cooking bhoga for the Lord. I'm cooking, but it is for the Lord, so I can remember Krishna there.
Okay, so while you're cooking, that's one way of remembering it. And can you please add more actions that you do in regards to cooking, which are also opportunities for you to think about Krishna? So before you start cooking, what are the things that you do?
He has provided me so many comforts. He has given me hands. He has given me the eyes to see. He has given me the brain to think how to do the thing. So he has provided me this machine body that I can serve Lord the Bhoga. So
you are thinking with gratitude. So gratitude, you're saying, is one way of remembering Krishna, that nice things are happening. Get up in the morning and say, all right, my heart is still beating. So, okay, fine. So there's gratitude there. So inculcating the habit of being grateful to the Lord every time you see something nice is a nice way of remembering the Lord. Okay. Where else can you remember the Lord?
Every action we do, we surrender to Lord Krishna. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of action that is. It can be something our daily. It can be something, a mistake I made. So we keep going back and surrendering ourselves.
Right. So in every nook and corner, every step, in every action, thought, we are thinking about Krishna. We're kind of like immersed in in Krishna, right? Like if I drink the water from a tap, how will I think about Krishna when I drink water from a tap?
Yes. When I water my plants, how I think about Krishna.
Okay.
When I sit on a chair, how I think about basically both para and apara. Everything around us or everything within us
Right.
is in the
So,
Krishna conscious.
Okay. So take the specific example of if I give a glass of water to you and I ask you to drink. So anyone in the class can answer that. How will you remember Krishna at that point? So this is a practice, right? We have to inculcate that practice. Yeah.
There's a verse that said he is the taste of water.
There you go. I was looking for that answer. Yeah. So Krishna says in the 10th chapter that I am the taste of water, right? And every time that Varshana Mataji, you're going out, when you go and do the bhoga, that you will purchase some vegetables, I hope, right? So when you're going and purchasing a vegetable, you'll remember a verse from 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? That he says that, I am the sunshine, I am the moonshine, right? And through the moonshine, the vegetables grow. That way, the Shastras come in handy, because sometimes it might become difficult because our mind gets bewildered because of all the calamities that come in our life. So we have to be armed with Shastric knowledge, so that when our mind is going haywire and going in the other direction down south, then we are able to somehow or the other, through suitable practice, right? Through suitable practice, bring back these Shastras. And it might not be just possible for us to do it all alone. Just as I said, that when you are fallen down into an ocean, no matter how strong that you are, you would need somebody to throw the rope and get you out of that. And that rope is, ultimately from this material world, only one person can take you out, and that is Krishna. Prabhupada mentions that also in this verse, right? And it is that this material world is so difficult and so wide, it's so huge to cross. And I mean that, the huge is not just by it's obviously when we say it's huge to cross, it's not that it is so huge that you can't cross it, but it's the difficulties there, the attachments and, the fall down, etc. that happen. But then also physically speaking, also it's very huge. The diameter of the universe is 4 billion miles. So it's really, really wide. You're trying to cross all of that is physically also not possible. So when you do that, how can I do that? I need a boat. And so here Kunti Maharani, here Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that you need a boat. And what is a suitable boat? He says the suitable boat is the lotus feet of Krishna. The lotus feet of Krishna are the most suitable boat, so that you can go under the shelter and he will carry you across. And he says in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when you take to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, that same water of the material, if you understand the material world as an ocean, right? So that same ocean that appears to be so huge for us to even fathom how wide it is, how deep it is, that same ocean becomes so small. And how small does it become? It becomes as small as the water that is contained in the hoof print of a calf, right? So, cows have got dainty feet, right? So they've got nice hoof, which will be like, maybe for a cow, it will be like this big, right? But if it's a calf, the calf is going to have even smaller hoof. And so if that calf is, imagine that calf is walking on a sea beach, right? So what happens when you walk on a sea beach? You make your impressions on the sand, right? And as you make the impressions on the sand and you go further, and if you look back, you will see the impression was there. And within seconds, you will see that impression gets filled with water, right? So similarly, imagine that a calf is walking on the sea and it makes a print on the sand. And then soon the sand gets filled, the hoof print gets filled with water. So he's saying that this huge material world gets reduced, this whole material ocean gets reduced into the size of a calf's footprint. And then you can cross over very easily. Why? Because I have got the best possible boat that I can have, and that is the lotus feet of the Lord. And how will you get to the lotus feet of the Lord? You also need somebody to guide you and tell you where you book your tickets to get onto that boat. And that guide is your spiritual master, right? So there's more to it. There's more to this verse, but I will stop now and I will open up to questions or reflections. or anything that, that you liked in this verse that you like to carry home. We have got 15 minutes and we can spend that here.
I just have a question about something that someone remarked on. How do you surrender a mistake? I mean, what exactly does that mean? And how do you do that?
How do you make a mistake, right? Now, let us first look at at mistakes and how we handle that, right? As mothers, right? As mothers, we all would have been in the kitchen one time or the other, right? And because we are mothers, this means there would be some kids around, right? And what do the kids do? As soon as the mother goes to the kitchen, they want to follow her there. And so sometimes, the kid is nagging the mom, like, when is it going to be over? Or, she's making some nice healthy food for the kid, and the kid is saying, I want ice cream, like that. And now she's busy and she has other work to do, meetings to attend, what all things to do. And so she's busy chopping, and she's, trying to carry all this thing and putting somewhere else. And that child is, nag. And then in all this melee, the dish drops from her hand and falls onto the ground. What is the first reaction of most of us? The first reaction most of us do is to turn to the child and say, see what you made me do. The blame goes immediately to the child, right? And the child learns that and then does that later on in the life also. So this is what we do, that whenever we make a mistake, we don't own it up. We don't own that up. And then, so here comes your part of the question, that, how do I surrender a mistake, right? How do I surrender a mistake? The first step in the surrendering of the mistake is to accept that we made the mistake, and which is an answer to the question that we ask when there are calamities, that why is Krishna doing this to me? So instead of throwing the blame on Krishna and saying, Krishna is doing this to me, a devotee looks inside and says, Tattenu kampam susamikshamano bhunjanamevatmapitam vipakam hidvak vapubir vidadan namaste jive tayo mukti pade sadayabha. So what does the devotee say? The devotee says, oh my Lord, I'm going through these calamities. And I actually am so fallen that because of my karmas in my previous birth or in this birth, I deserved something worse than this. However, because you are so merciful to me, that you have reduced that sentence. And then namaste. And then whenever calamities come, he starts to offer him obeisances. How? Obeisances with his body. That's the least of the obeisances that he's going to do. But the mind also starts to offer the obeisances, and the words also offer the obeisances to the Lord. So the words that come out of that devotee's mind, because we could be, so many times, especially in India, there is this custom that you have to touch the feet of the elders, and most of the youngsters don't do it with any amount of surrender at all or respect. They just do it because they have to do it. And nowadays, instead of even touching the feet, they have come up with a shortcut. You just go and touch their knees. They don't even have to bend that much and touch their dirty feet like that. That's the mood. And devotee, on the other hand, runs after the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. Dust after the lotus feet, not only of the Lord, but dust of the lotus feet of the devotees of the Lord. So the first step in surrendering our mistakes to the Lord is to accept that I made the mistake, number one. Number two, accept our position and our relationship with Krishna and our position that I am only qualitatively similar to the Lord. I am not quantitatively similar to the Lord, right? I am a spirit soul. Yes, Lord is also spiritual. I am also spiritual, but I don't have the same strength as the Lord. The moment I understand that this is what my relationship and my constitutional position right now is, then I will realize that, okay, I have made a mistake and there are going to be consequences to this mistake that I have made. And the consequences to these mistakes are going to affect me. And there's only one person who can help me get the strength to handle the consequences, or that person can even write it off karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. In the beginning, it says, Yasva Indra Gopam Atavendra Ahosa Karma, right? It says that right from the little insect known as Indra Gopa, all the way up to Indra, and even beyond, up to Brahma actually. But this verse is only going up to Indra, and because of the poetical license there. So from Indra Gopam, the insect, to Indra, the king of the demigods, all of them are subject to their karmic reactions, right? And I was talking about, yesterday. I was talking about yesterday about how carefully we should be carrying out our duty. And if we make even a small mistake in carrying out our duty, then the consequences can be very, very severe. For example, Indra was sitting in his court. He's the king of the demigods, very, very powerful position. And so he's sitting in his court, and what is happening? The apsaras are dancing, the courtiers are there, people are singing his praise, right? And he's enjoying it. And then his spiritual master enters the court, and Indra fails to get up from his seat and offer obeisance to his spiritual master. And all this happens in a split second. Spiritual master comes, sees Indra ignoring me, goes out. And then when that happens, Indra suddenly realizes that, oh my goodness, my spiritual master had come and he has left. And so he feels very remorse, and he accepts his mistake. He's a king, but he accepts his mistake in front of everybody, all the way from the apsaras to the couriers to the ministers, other demigods, whoever is sitting in that court, in the front of everybody. He says, I should not have done that. So he goes there to find his guru, and the guru tries to give him some gyan, some knowledge. And the guru can give you gyan in so many ways. The guru can give you gyan by telling you politely, right? Like you come to a class, the guru gives you gyan over there, right? The second way the guru can give you gyan is to scold you, left, right, and center. And when the guru scolds you, all the other disciples will tell you, you are the lucky one who got chastisement from your guru, because that's going to stick very nicely, right? And the third way the gurus teach is they keep quiet. They will not say anything. They will let you go through the suffering like that. So Indra, at least at that point, he accepts his mistake, and but Guru, what he does is he becomes invisible to Indra. Indra tries to look for him, he cannot find. Then Indra goes to Brahma, and then Brahma gives him, some advice, and there's a whole long story over there. But what I'm trying to emphasize over here is that accepting your mistake is a very important part of the surrendering process, no matter in what stage in life that you are. So don't give the blame, accept it, and then go in the mental attitude, develop the mental attitude. And sometimes it might you might have to practice getting that mental attitude that this is my own doing, I deserve worse, and then Krishna has come and intervened, and all that I'm going to do is I'm going to glorify. And then ask Krishna that, please, Krishna, I know that there is this defect in me. I made this mistake. I committed Vaishnava Aparadh. I wrote a nasty text message to somebody, or I ignored, like Indra did, like that. So I did that. Please forgive me, Krishna, and give me the strength and the opportunities and the circumstances so that I can improve upon and get rid of this, nasty habit that I have, like that. And so when we practice all that, that is true surrender. And then because of that mistake that we made, sometimes what happens is we have made a mistake and the result has not yet come, right? We realize we made a mistake, the result has not yet come. And now what do I do, right? Like, accept your mistake. Then our immediate thing is like, Krishna, please don't punish me like that, right? But our prayer should be, Krishna, you do whatever you have to do, right? Just give me the strength to handle whatever you mete out to me. And that's the safest prayer that you give, because then you are beyond it. Then it doesn't matter. And then you reach the stage of Kunti Maharani. Kunti Maharani, why is Kunti Maharani says, let more Vipta come, right? Because she's at that stage, she's a devotee of that caliber, that she's saying that all these calamities that are coming is Krishna, it's just you who's coming in a different form. And people talk about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, he used to fly from one place to another place. And so once they were in an aeroplane and they were going to the worst possible turbulence on the plane. And every person, had perspiration on their face, and those who were devotees were like, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Somebody, you never know, we might be about to die. It's better to take the names of the Lord. Everybody was doing that, but Prabhupada, he usually used to chant. So he was sitting there quietly, others, they might chant, you might look here and there, and listen to the announcement, but Prabhupada was unfazed. So when all this turbulence, afterwards, when the turbulence died down, then, the devotees walked up to him and said, Prabhupada, how did you maintain so much of poise and so much of cool, while we were on turmoil because of all this turbulence? And Prabhupada said that, well, I just took it as this is another form of Krishna. So you see the beautiful form of Krishna in your altar. And then there are other forms of Krishna also. And depending on who you are, for example, a very ferocious form of Krishna is Nrsimha-dev, right? How much more ferocious can you get? Even his wife said, I've never seen this. Please, I want to stay away. Brahmaji is hiding. Shivji, completely bewildered. And then what do? All the demigods, they push Prahlad in front and they say, you are the one. He has come for you. He has come to save you. Now you take care of this, this thing that has appeared out of a pillar, right? And so the same ferocious Nrsimha-dev had one effect on Hiranyakashipu, and he had another effect on Prahlad. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was a huge calamity. The appearance of Nrsimha-dev was a huge calamity for Hiranyakashipu. He lost his life, right? But on the other hand, look at Prahlad Maharaj, right? His paw is on his head and he's, chanting beautiful poetry, a 5-year-old boy. So it's just the way a devotee looks at the calamity. So for Kunti Devi, she's at that high level that she doesn't make any differentiation between, Krishna coming to her in the form of nice things happening in her life, or Krishna coming to her in the form of bad things or calamities or difficult things coming in her life. She sees Krishna in both of them. And that's why she's very brave, and she says, well, when there are calamities, you actually are coming in front of us. When there are good things, you might not be there, right? You might not be there. But calamities, you're there physically in front of us. And, the more I see you, the less chances are there for me to come back and have a rebirth over there. So that's what it is. Yeah. Any more comments or questions? We are close to the top of the hour here. Going 1, going 2, and going 3. Okay, so then tomorrow we won't have any sessions on Saturdays that we have, because we have some program going on. Most of the people have to go there, so we have canceled that, but we will continue our recitation from the Bhagavad Gita on the Saturday after that. And also, I think that will be June 26th. But we will meet on Sunday morning at 6:30 for those of you who are practicing how to recite the Sanskrit from the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So having said that, I will take your leave. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Zoom call, as well as the devotees who are watching us on Facebook. I do recall seeing Neelam Mataji, Vidyavadhu Mataji, and Dilip Bhai Patel Prabhu, who are kind of like our regulars on Facebook. And of course, all of you Matajis here. Take care and be safe. Think of Krishna, and Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Papnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Take care. Thank you for joining. See you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna. Hari Bol.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm trying to find my mouse, which has gone to the other screen. All right.